Well, good morning, Liberal Kansas, Southwest Kansas, the Oklahoma Panhandle, and all other places where you tune in to get your news and views from the middle of America. This is Earl the Leader in Times on Thursday, October 9th, 2025. Joining me as always, Jim Rice, and this is day 23 of the Seward County hostage situation, where on September 15th they passed a 13 mil increase that you are powerless to do anything about. You can't petition it. You can't challenge it. You can't do anything about it.
And you can't pay it.
You can't pay it. So, we'll keep working and exhaust every resource we can legally to do that. And I'm going to tell everybody this right now. Keep it above board. Don't give anyone a reason to say that anyone is doing anything dirty or underhanded. You have a right to complain. You have a right to do that. You know, no one wants anything to be done inappropriately, no matter whether they think you're valuable or have value. We, as the people of this community, we do things the right way. And we're going to try everything we can to visit with other lawmakers and people up the line. Hold on a second. Now I'd like to say good morning, Liberal Kansas, Southwest Kansas, the Oklahoma Panhandle, and all other places where you tune in to get your news and views from the middle of America. This is Earl the Leader in Times on Thursday, October 9th, 2025. Joining me as always, Jim Rice. And now I can say this is day 23 of the Seward County hostage situation, where the taxpayers of Seward County were taken hostage September 15th by a rogue group of leaders that have pretty much required a massive tax increase, the largest in history, and the people have no recourse, no way to take action, no way to petition, no way to answer. They are completely helpless. And so for, what do you call that? A hostage. And that's where we're at on October 9th.
Yep, still. Do want to say, if you do have complaints, you do that, let's do it with class and dignity and above the board, even though we're helpless, even though our government doesn't work on our behalf, they work against us. Don't do anything that is not considered tactful or classy. Yeah, you can nickname them and all that stuff. Welcome to politics. The tradition of nicknames. I think we have the nicknamer in chief as president right now. Yeah, sure, world.
You know, you have every right to be upset and if you want to do those things. But as far as like approaching anybody, if you approach anybody, you know, let them know, hey, I'm not happy with what you did. I don't think it was right. But, you know, no one is even suggesting anybody do anything inappropriate. So just want to share that and make sure, because people will claim anything and try to use anything as a weapon against the people. That's just seems to be where we're at. I do want to share with you this, because when you're looking at, okay, what can we afford? What you know, when people say, well, you don't want to take anybody's benefits, you don't want to hurt anybody's in that way. And, you know, nobody does. Nobody wants to do these things. You just have to look and say, what can we afford? What can't we? So this is just so you can see one of the benefits that's given to, let me make sure I got the right camera here. One of the benefits that's given to Seward County employees, you may not be aware of this. This is their paid time off schedule. And so here it is. This is in the handbook. And so I want you to look at this chart, these numbers here. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, I'll hold it like that. So if you work 0 months to a year for Seward County, you get 3.12 hours per payroll, which will be 10 days off per year. First year, you're going to get 10 days off. That's 2 weeks. But as soon as you start that 1 year and 1 day, you start that second year to 4 years, you get 23 days off. Plus these days off. These are the 12 that, you know, are typical. New Year's, Martin Luther King, President, all of these, Juneteenth. Look at this. They don't call it Columbus Day. They call it Indigenous Peoples Day. They'll get Monday off for Indigenous Peoples Day in Seward County. Veterans Day, Thanksgiving Day, after Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas Day. You get these 12 days off, plus these up here, for a total of, when you're just starting your second year, 35 days off. So there's 5 days a week. So that's 7 weeks off. And if you keep working and you work, you know, quite a while with the county, you start your 15th year, you get 30 days off plus these 12. That's 50 days off. That's 10 weeks off. So, you know, when people are saying maybe we need to revisit some of these perks, they're not being unreasonable. You tell me, you can hop on here and you can let us know what kind of perks do you get at your job. Do you get, when you started year number 2, did you get 23 days off plus the 12 holidays, get 35 days off? That's 7 weeks.
I don't remember that.
You know, I think about the guys out at National Beef and the women working on those tables, cutting that beef so they can pay their bills, provide for their families, 6 days a week a lot of times. They don't get, I can tell you, they don't get 35 days off when they start year 2. And again, kudos to those who tried to get this, but the question is, what commission thought this was a good idea that the taxpayers could afford to give people that kind of time off when there isn't any business? Am I wrong? Can you tell me if your business gives that many days off? Let us know. Might be applying, because
Yeah.
I mean,
You don't get that many days off here?
no, no. Some of them were asking me, "Are we going to be here on Monday?" Yes, we will be here on Monday. You know, I mean, we were in school on Columbus Day. Matter of fact, we went to school and learned about Columbus on Columbus Day.
Maybe that's the reason they changed the name.
I cannot believe that. Seward County.
Indigenous people. Whose idea was that?
That's on your handbook. That's on your county handbook. I didn't write that. Indigenous Peoples Day. I don't know what else to say. There's no words left.
Pretty crazy.
But just so you know, that's just one. You know, I'm not going to share everything. I got stacks of stuff. There are other people doing some reports you have to watch and see. Carolyn Huddleston's working on some more information and getting that out to the people. But
I think that's a lady that never sleeps.
she is a dedicated citizen.
Man.
That's all I can say. She cares. And all I can say is thank you, Carolyn.
Yeah.
And also David Box. He's done a lot, and I want to thank him. I know he's a private guy. He doesn't want a lot of kudos, but he's been doing a lot of work and research, and so we appreciate that. We do have Oktoberfest coming up here Saturday. You going to go check out Oktoberfest
I might have to do that.
and see what they got going on downtown with Oktoberfest? It's not really going to be on Main Street. It's going to be over here on Lincoln. I think they said 4th and Lincoln or 3rd and Lincoln, somewhere in that area. And there's going to have bouncy houses for the kids and stuff like that. So it sounds like a fun day.
Well, you know, I mean, that's kind of the whole thing for any day that, you know, we've kind of declared as a weekend festival or something. You know, there's always something there for everybody, you know, whether it's bouncy houses or food trucks or, you know, whatever it is. There are always family events, I think. So that'll be good.
Yeah. And another set of volunteers working to make Liberal
Yep.
a better place. Just come off the airfare. A bunch of volunteers put that together.
Probably more than a bunch.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I have to see, is Ozfest, I think that I saw something about an Ozfest event coming up too.
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't remember. I can't remember what it was. I got a card the other day, but I forgot what it said. Guess I'll have to go home and read it. It's still laying on my desk.
We got that coming up. Some of us are working on something. Don't forget the 4th of July. This coming 4th of July is going to be the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. And we're working on something. Hope that it can come through. And as soon as it does, we'll announce that to the public. But a lot of good things going on by people who are just willing to sacrifice for their community and make it a better place. And we appreciate every volunteer out there doing that. I want to say thank you to the Chamber of Commerce the other night for hosting the USD 480 and Seward County Community College Board of Trustee forums to let them answer some questions and talk about some issues. They talked about, both of them talked about the pool. We were able to bring some over afterwards, and it seemed like, and I asked everyone what was a key question. Most of them said the pool.
Oh, there you go.
And so I'm just curious, you know, where's the public at on this? I've talked with some representatives, and we had Brad here from the school board, and they have a possibility because they did so well. When we did the school bond issue, the state matching is now has been up in the high 80s, 90% matching that for us. And so we've been able to free up about $30 million from the school district budget that can be used for infrastructure, can't be used for other things, but it can be used for infrastructure, and it wouldn't raise the mill at all. It would leave the mill the same. It would just be refinancing the deal. And if anyone is to do a pool as far as financing it, the district might be the best way to do it because it wouldn't it wouldn't raise our taxes.
Yep.
And what else can we do to address any other needs we might have? I know our arts, what I'm talking about is performing arts, has always been very limited. Liberal High School has got one classroom off the side of the auditorium. And so drama classes, stuff like that, that's all they got. So, you know, maybe there's some things we can do there. A swimming pool is not just for athletics, by the way. I mean, that's for community needs a pool for therapy.
About everything. Anything you can think of that requires a little water.
Yeah.
You know.
And if we ever do build another pool, I won't take my measuring stick out there.
And measure it before they get started.
Yeah. And make sure.
Put the stake in the right place.
Make sure that it can be regulation. You only get one pour on that.
Yeah, that's right.
You better make sure that it's legitimate size so that events can take place.
Yep.
But that seemed to be the conversation. What did you think about the conversations about the pool?
Well, I think that everybody there, all of the candidates, were interested in, at least participating in the conversation, and all of them seem to be more than willing to, to include their organization in the, the possible finance or the maintenance or whatever it took. So there's a long ways from being there yet, but I think the conversation was very favorable. Kind of like the original meeting they had at the college when you and I went up there, and it was something that the entire community, I think, or at least those folks, at that meeting, and there was a room full that were in support of it. Now I'm sure there's a few naysayers out there, but on the other hand, when you look at the suggestions and the needs for everything from scuba diving to things that we never thought about, and they all wanted it, and I think that theme kind of carried over into the candidate forum. It's just about how do we go about it now? How do we finance it? Where do we locate it? Who's going to be in charge of running it? And I think that probably the college seemed to me like that, that was the best idea that they've had yet. That college would be in charge of, it would be on the campus up there somewhere, and but there wasn't any negative comments about it, and so I think it is needed. I won't use it, but I'm sure there's others that are looking forward to that, and they're still using the old one. They're just kind of, I think one of them said something about, we're just praying that it continues to be operable, until we figure out what we're going to do with this other one, or to get another one. So,
yeah, and I think, to me, this is what I see as a working scenario.
mm-hmm.
But if the school district can help fund it because they have a team that needs a place to swim, plus they could have maybe other classes. The college, benefits from having a pool. The seniors in our community benefit from having the pool. What I see is, if the school can handle that financing, the city's also talking about putting $1.8 million to fix and repair Adventure Bay. Well, if they can maybe convert that to another splash pad park and get rid of all that expense of that, but put some money towards not just an indoor pool, but maybe it has additional amenities that can be an indoor water facility. And maybe the college manages it 9 months out of the year during the school year, and the city manages it and brings in lifeguards through the summer when the college doesn't necessarily need it, and the public is looking for a place to go for activities and stuff with their families. And so the city can operate it during that time. The college can keep and maintain it as property, and the school district has a memorandum of understanding that they get the use of it and have some ownership into it for the school swimming program. It can work, and I think I don't remember who it was the other night. Maybe it was Nick Hatcher, but someone said we already do a lot of interlocal work. The college uses the high school field for their soccer program.
Yep.
The school district uses the city's baseball fields for their program, for their baseball and softball programs. So there's already some cooperation that goes on between the college, the school, and the city on facility use. This would just be maybe taking it to a new level, but it would still be a facility that would have meet a lot more than just any one specific need. The worst thing for the taxpayers would be, well, the college needs a pool, the city needs a pool, and the school needs a pool, and we're paying for 3 pools. We don't need 3. We need 1 pool that meets all the regulations, or facility. I don't want to say just 1 pool. Maybe they have a little side pool for a therapy pool. Maybe a pool, that however this would end up being, it would be something that would meet all 3 needs in 1 facility. Isn't that the better way to do it?
Sure. Well, it's like you talk about, designing the new elementary schools, and how that came about. It was through community involvement that the design evolved, and I think that meeting at the college a year or so ago was a prime example of that. There was 15, 20 different ideas for, I need it for this, I need it for that, and if you can kind of incorporate all of those things into, one design, why not do that?
Yeah, and cooperation is difficult, I get that.
Sure.
But I can tell you, we the people are encouraging you to do it that way, to come together. If you can do it with a 0 mil, of course that'd still go to a vote. People should be able to vote on that. And I'm saying, just like we did the school bond, you need to be going around, getting public input, listening, what would you want it to be? What would you not want it to do? All of that stuff, get all that input, and then see what you can put together. And let it be representative and what the people say. I don't know what it would look like, but I know that if we bring people to the table and let people have input and ask them, whatever they come up with, I would support, because it's a people-driven plan. That's why I got behind the school bond issue.
I was a guy in the room like this when they first started saying, nope, you guys are just going to try to come tell us what. And instead, the first thing they said was, look, you guys failed a couple of years ago on your bond issue because you didn't talk to your community first. You can't do that. You've got to go talk. I think it was Piper Jaffray. I can't remember the name of the group. Maybe they were the architects. There was a group that came in and consulted on it. And they said, you put a blue ribbon committee last time, you're going to have to do something different. And so they did. They put citizens in the front, and they opened the door to everybody, not just a select few, and had meetings all over the place. Here's what Garfield is. It's K through 3. And most of the kids were going on the playground on trailer house classrooms and in the actual building.
Yeah.
And you're like, so what do you want to do? Do you want to just expand this? It doesn't even fit on the square that you have there. It would cost this much. Or do you want to replace schools like Garfield, and it would cost this much, but you'd be starting with a brand new school, K through 5 instead of K through 3, no trailer house classes, and a new facility meets all the new codes, all the new this. You don't have to go back and retrofit anything. You don't have to have this wing doesn't look like that wing, and all this stuff that we've been doing. I mean, McDermott had been expanded for like 90 years at that time. And you could tell when you were going from one part to another.
Yeah.
And it still had outdoor classrooms, I think 8 over there. So, but we got the public input, and it passed 76%. There is a method to do it the right way, but you have to put the people first.
Yep.
And if you do, I think you'll pass it. We're putting the people first. If you'd like, I'll just show you this is at liberalfirst.com. And if you would like to participate, this is a poll on the right side there. Should the Seward County Commission amend the budget to lower the mill levy? You can see where the results are right now. 335 yeses, 8 noes, so 97.7 to 2.3. This is where the people are at. But if you haven't voted yet, you can go to liberalfirst.com, cast your vote, and that's right there for anyone to see. And it'll only let you do it once. So if you think I'm going to sit there and
You can't stuff the ballot box.
you can't stuff the ballot box. It'll give you a message, and it'll say, nope, you've already voted on that, so you can't vote again. Test me on that and show me, because I've already had someone send me that, and it showed that they couldn't vote again. And it's not that, it's a one and done. But this again is community involvement. Let the people hear. If you're not going to go hear from the people, then we'll give the people a chance to voice their concerns right here. And will they do anything with it? I doubt it. But they've made their decision that they don't answer to the people, and that they've done what they've done, and they seem to have no interest in changing it. But you do. You seem to have an interest in them getting back together and revisiting this thing. So that poll's available, and you can fill that out. But this is what we believe in here. We believe in community engagement, that you don't just tell the community when they come up why they're wrong, but you say, you know what? If this is what you guys are asking for, we represent you, then we need to probably look at that.
I don't know that we've ever been told why we're wrong.
Oh, then you haven't asked a question at a forum. Look at what Carolyn Huddleston was explaining, some of these benefits and our cost compared to other. And she was, Commissioner Fuller interrupted her and said, you've got some employees in the room right now, and you're telling them you want to cut their benefits. Yeah. I mean, it's like she's trying to share with you how our benefits package doesn't align with other places' benefits package. You would think that the public would be able to share and have that concern, but not with this group. You can't question that.
No.
And so citizens tried. I think Steve Murs said he went to one of the town halls and shared his concern, and then afterwards got reamed out by a commissioner and others. So that's what the interaction has been there. A completely different experience than what we did when we were talking about a school bond issue. And to your point, one of the groups that was involved was Kids Inc. and Kids Inc. parents, big voting bloc. And when we designed these schools, we designed them so that the gyms could be utilized by the public, but then the rest of the school can be protected from the general public coming in after hours or on weekends.
Yeah.
So it was designed intentionally to protect the rest of the investment, but allow public access to those facilities. So again, we're not doubling up as taxpayers having to build more gyms. We already have gyms that aren't utilized on weekends and in evenings, a lot of cases. So Kids Inc. was able to practice there. That was one of the selling points of getting the new schools built, was that the public was going to be able to use these gyms when the school didn't need them, and that was part of the deal. And it was designed intentionally in a way that that could take place. And if you go to the middle schools, same thing. It's almost like you're coming into a small arena. You have doors that you can come in and go into that gym, but the school, there's a door that connects it to the school, and that can be shut, and you can't go in and cause any trouble or mess anything up anywhere else in the school, but you can come in and utilize the gym. So when you are willing to listen to people, it shows up in how you design things. When you don't listen to people, you say things like, tell them why we're doing this, or tell them why we're doing that. Then the decision was already made. Why are we having public input? If you're already saying what we're going to do, instead of how would you like us to do it? What would you like us to do? Totally different kind of conversation, isn't it?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. When you don't get that public input, you usually don't get that support.
Yeah, and you don't get buy-in. And I think that's a big thing. There may have been a group in town that could have put together a school plan, and it might have been exactly the same, but it would have failed because people said, why are you telling me what we need instead of us telling you what we need?
Yeah.
And when the public was able to come in and make the plan, then they bought into the plan.
Well, you get to play a part in it.
Yes. Stakeholder.
Yep.
Not just in name, but actually sitting at the table,
Yeah.
making recommendations, and then them being implemented in a plan. Not, well, you got to have your say. We're not doing any of it, but you got to have your say. That's not public involvement. Public involvement is saying, okay, let's include that. And I think I pointed out where the city has done that, talking about the logo. But not just that. I said on the Focus on the Future committee, and they were talking about the new pickleball courts. And when I was looking at the plans, I didn't see any lights, and so I asked the city, I said, is there any plan for lights? Because seniors play pickleball. It keeps them active, and it's not overtaxing. And so if they're going to play it, they're not going to play it in a 100-degree July day, but they might come after sundown and play it. And so what do you know? They put lights. There's lights involved with that now. They didn't say, well, that costs money, and that is like, if this is what the public wants and this is going to make it more accessible and more people be able to use it, they did it.
Sure.
That's what being responsive to the public means. Am I missing? Am I wrong on that?
No, I think that's right.
And when you were a commissioner, were there times that you had to implement public concerns or public suggestions into some of the things you guys worked on?
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember anything in particular, but you always kind of had a feel for what people were thinking. If nothing else, they'd tell you what they were thinking. But
I can tell you one that when you were on. I remember when the state changed concealed carry rules.
Yeah.
And you guys had to make a choice of policy that you would have for county facilities.
Yeah.
And I think you had a room full of Second Amendment supporters come and recommend and suggest that you allow it and don't put the metal detectors at the door and protect people's rights to concealed carry. Was that accurate?
Yeah, those metal detectors, if I remember right, those were expensive. My goodness, they were, like building a new courthouse. But, I think I remember some of the discussion, and it was that, the decals on on the doors will just disappear, and there won't be any big hullabaloo about it. It'll be just, you know, they'll just go away, and that's it. And so that's what happened. But anyway, there was, I don't know, there was probably a few of them over all the years. But anyway, you always should have a feel for what the, you know, the folk. I mean, after all, you are the elected representative for that district, and you need to have a good feel of what folks are saying. But that poll you put up a little bit ago, you know, if that's true, and only 8 people have supported that, you know, that don't speak very well for having a grasp on the feeling of the community.
Yeah, let's update and see where we are. Just say, yeah, 339 to 8. 339 people want their elected officials to revisit the budget and lower the mill levy. 8, I don't know who those 8 are. 8 do not, and that's all right. You know, that's how it works. Everyone gets their say, and there it is. And let me see here. I'm going to just show you. If you try to vote again, if I can click that. Let's see. See what it tells you? You have already voted on this poll or reached the maximum allowed votes. So it won't allow you to sit there,
There you go.
and vote and vote and vote.
There you go.
Can't do it. So, you know, it'll prevent that. And so only 1 per computer. You can't go and do that. Oh, it's up to 341. There's been 2 votes since we talked.
There you go.
But it won't let you vote multiple times.
And still stuck on 8.
Yeah. But so, you know, that's finish that there. Okay. So we're just asking that representative government actually represents, you know, and it's not to tell us that you know better than us or that get it from one person's source. You are valuable, and I want you to know that you are the voters, you are the stakeholders, you own the property, you pay the bills, you go and work your tail off. The volunteers in this community. Just look at the last few weeks. Let's start with Little World's Fair, and then the Fiesta, and then the block party, and then the duck race, and then the airfair, and now Oktoberfest. I mean, all of this done by volunteers, and it couldn't do it without the help of the city allowing the use of the park and their help with doing some things like that. The airfare without Seward County and the City of Liberal being on hand just in case something were to go wrong, but also the City of Liberal allowing the access to the Air Museum free that day. And every time I go out there, you know, I think, well, I've been out there. And every time I go out there, I'm always impressed.
Yeah, that's a great place, even if you don't know much about airplanes. Just walk through there. There's so much more than just airplanes. You know, there's a history of guys that grew up right here in town or, you know, close by with a pretty good exhibit of their military experiences and all, and it's just really fun to see that, you know, I mean, you know, look at General Welch. You know, he's a hometown guy and ended up, you know, pretty high up about as high as you could go, you know, in the military.
Chairman of the
Joint
of the Air
Chiefs
Force.
of Staff, yeah, you know, and you know, so it kind of makes you think that, hey, we are really, you know, we've got a pretty good history for that, you know, and well, I mean, look at the air base out there, you know, and you know how and why we got chosen for that monster airport, you know, and you know, and that was back in the 40s, probably late 30s it started, but back in the early 40s, and that came about. So we've got a lot of history here that you don't really think about, that and how did we get picked? How did we get chosen? What were the the decisions that brought that airport here? Of course, it was about the center of the country and the most secure, I think. But anyway, but yeah, just go out there and walk through that and look at some of those things, and I know there's a lot of those airplanes out there that's got a lot of history with them. Not only the people that served the military from here and around the area, but some of those airplanes. I mean, Jim Floyd's got an airplane out there. It didn't have anything to do with military, but that thing flew over my house and my tractor many a time. Which is really neat. But that's just one of them, with that old spray plane. And but they've got supersonic things out there, and I mean it's an amazing place.
Yeah, it's the history of aviation, not just military. That's part of it, but also commercial, and also used as a tool, like the crop duster.
Yeah.
And those. So yeah, you want to go see that. Bill is asking, is there still going to be an official petition? The answer to that, Bill, is no. And the reason? There's no legal recourse. There's no legal way to petition an increase. The petition opportunity, and I want everyone to know this, you can petition a revenue neutral rate before they pass that they're going to exceed it. So you've got this little tiny window of when you can petition exceeding the revenue neutral rate, and it has to happen like within so many days of their first publication, and but once they vote it, the people are completely at the mercy. You're in day 23 of the hostage situation, Bill. You're one of the Seward County hostages that is now helpless to do anything about it. But I will tell you this: next year, I will already have a petition approved. Just wait to fill in the blanks on what they're going to propose, and we will petition against any revenue neutral rate ever proposed again in Seward County before they ever get a chance to even bring it to the board to just say, the people said you can't even consider it. That's if we don't get a constitutional amendment through. And I'm going to be talking with lawmakers that are proposing a constitutional amendment that, well, we'll do both, but they're looking at a constitutional amendment that will do two things. One, it will keep your house valuation from just going crazy. There's some places in the state that they've upped people's house valuations in 1 year by 20%. So it'll lock their hands that they can go no more than 3% if that's the version that gets through. That's one thing. Then the other thing is that a dollar cap, which would be the rate of inflation and any growth. And what that means is if a new house is built, obviously that's going to be new taxes. So you got to count that. But only the rate of inflation moving forward. Because if you look at the size and the growth of government compared to the rate of inflation locally, it is multiple times higher than the rate of inflation, multiple times. And some people don't understand inflation, and they said, well, you got to count that every year. No, if you take and look and see the value of a dollar, I believe Carolyn Huddleston looked at her house when she paid $800 a year in taxes, and now she's paying over $3,000 a year, I think $97 to today. But if that was done through inflation, it would be about $1,700. She's paying over $3,000. So the rate of how government has outpaced locally the rate of inflation is just atrocious. So this constitutional amendment is looking at tying their hands, and if they want to go above that, then they have to have a vote. Not maybe, not you have to petition it. No, it would have to go to a vote of the people. And we all know what a vote of the people would do on this one. It would have been absolutely no, you can't do that. Yeah. But they don't believe in you. They don't trust you to make the right decision for your community. So they did it for you, Bill. But that's what we're working on at the state level. There are a couple of complaints filed with BOTA, the Board of Tax Appeals, which is the only place you can go for any kind of relief in the state of Kansas once they've taxed you beyond recognition. So there's a couple of petitions there that they exceeded revenue neutral rate, and in David Box's complaint that they broke about 6 or 7 statutes, and he listed them all and explained them all to BOTA. So the public is trying its best, Bill. Public is trying its best, and it was a shocker when I called some senators in the state of Kansas and said, "How do you petition this?" and be told you can't. You cannot petition a mill increase. You can't. You know, and so there are discussions about recall options. There may be some windows there that people are looking at, but it's the only relief that people have. And
But a recall's not going to solve the problem.
not unless the new people come in and say,
Yeah.
we're going to amend this budget. We're not going to spend that money like that. So, Bill, I mean, that's why this is day 23 of the Seward County hostages being held by a group of 3 who have taken control of Seward County. The law is on their side against you. You do not have, you were mistaken when you thought that a democratic form of government can be held in check, that if you elect somebody who promises to never do something, that they'll actually stick to that promise. They'll lie to you, which happened. So, you know, you vote for people based on their commitment, and then they stab you in the back and say, well, that's okay. I can certainly, there's got to be places in the law where we can correct this. No, there's not. The law protects itself, protects government at the expense of you, Bill, and other people like you. We're working our tail off to find any option. We are pleading with the state for relief to find anywhere. You know, you can't even complain to the Attorney General's office about this because you're just a lowly peasant citizen. Only a senator or a representative can ask for an opinion on this. So you might want to talk to your representative, Shannon Francis, or you might want to talk to your senator, Ron Reichman, and see if they're willing to do that on your behalf, because you don't have the ability to do that. Welcome to Civics 101. We're learning that you don't have the power in the hands of the people in this state, and certainly not in this county. You concentrated it into the hands of 3 people who have ignored their other 2 members of their board, belittled and berated them publicly. 2 of the 3 have. And those 3 have decided they don't need the other 2. They'll run this show, and that's what's happening. And when you thought, just like I did, the law is on the side of the people in the state of Kansas. We will be able to correct this. And then you find out, no, you can't. No, you can't. And I'm going to be visiting with more representatives and legislators looking for any way to relieve this crisis in Seward County. Already one business owner has said, who was going to expand his operation and put up a grain elevator. He's not in Seward County. He's going to put that outside of Seward County because of this. And I can't imagine what economic development is going through if anyone's looking up Liberal or Seward County and they see that they just got tagged with a 13 mil increase. You want to come in and build here? And I also heard that one of our housing projects, that because of this, that one of their financiers has said, finish those and we're done. We're not putting any more in Liberal in Seward County. So there is ramifications to this. And I hope it was worth it to those 3 to put the community through this.
I mean, and this is only the beginning of it. You know, I mean, this is going to affect us way down the road. You know, you know, that's the thing about when you decide something. It's not only for this week or this taxing year or whatever, but the consequences of that go on for years to come. And even if you lower them back down, and that's the next question. You know, will they lower it next time? Because supposedly this is enough to settle make the settlement. But I'd almost assure you that there's more to come. There's more to come.
And let me just explain real quick to you, Bill. When they sent that letter to you and told you 21 mills would be for the court case and only 4.868 for the rest of the budget, well, that wasn't honest, because in just one line category they increased the benefits for the county $1.5 million more. They're putting $1.5 million into that. That alone, Bill, that alone is more than 4.868 mills by a long shot. And so that puts them, in my view, out of line with the revenue neutral rate, because they taxed in excess of the 4.868 in the regular budget that they sent us a letter and said they wouldn't do. Another thing is, they were telling us worst case scenario. And I believe, and David Box believes that violates not only R&R, but there's a law 6110 that says if you're going to take money from the people for what you anticipate may be down the road payment, you have to put that in a restricted fund. Ours is in the general fund. It's a category right under the general fund. They didn't establish that. When they were asked by a citizen, is this going into the restricted fund 6110? Chairman Carr said, we're familiar with that, but legal counsel or April, do you guys want to address that? Legal counsel said, I'm not familiar enough with it to give you an opinion. And April said, well, I've checked with other counties, and I can't find anyone following that law or following that, doing that. The exact words, how she said it. She just said she couldn't find anyone doing it. So Stewart County decided we're not doing it either. And there you go. And so there's a violation. But again, Bill, Sandy, any of you guys, you can't hold your commission accountable. You can't even go to the Attorney General with it, because you're not the only things that they will represent is if a senator or representative makes a complaint, and then they will give an opinion on whether or not they violated the rule. Or else you have to hire an attorney and take them to district court. You know, you have to use your money to fight for your money. And they know that, and so this is where we're at. Yep. So I'm going to be making a plea as best I can for local taxpayers to Topeka that we need their help, because when you have a three-headed dictatorship in your community, there is nothing the people can do. When they say, if they could have said 50 mills, and there's nothing you could have done about it. And you would have said, I can't pay that. I've already had people come up to me in church and say, I can't pay this. What am I supposed to do? What am I going to do about my house? What am I supposed to tell them? I'm telling them exactly what I'm telling you. I understand. You need to tell these three. They control your life moving forward. You're out of you do not control your. We live in what we thought was a free country, and these three have proven that's not true. You don't live in a free country. Once you elect some people, they rule over you. They own you. They figured that out. They didn't come back to you and say, well, let's have a discussion. Let's revisit this. They only got information from inside sourcing.
They didn't open the doors. They are our conduit. You've got all the people that vote for a commission. And then the commission hires some people, a staff, to carry out what you want done in a community, what we have to have done in our community. And the only thing between that and you is that commission, those 5 people elected by us after they told us what they would run for, what they would represent, and then what they did to us and completely abandoned their promise. At least one of them did. So that gets us where we're at. They don't care about what you have to say because you showed up that night and tried to share with them, don't do this, you're not following the law, this is way too much. They already had the resolution written up before you got there, ready to raise their hands and get it passed.
Yep.
It was in the handout. So I'm sorry to tell you, we don't matter. We're just batteries to them. We're just supposed to power them. It's a sad lesson. It was a hard one. But I'm not stopping with the fight. We may lose this battle, but we won't lose the war.
Yep.
I can tell you that. And it may take a reshuffling of commissioners. It may take a reshuffling of leadership in our county. But I've seen this before. You've seen it before.
Right.
And the people will take control back. They may own you for a year. This hostage situation will come to a close. But for now, the Seward County hostage situation is in day 23 of the helplessness that you're just going out and working for other people and not your boss and not your company and not your family. You're working for another group of people that have told you you're going to pay up and you don't have a say in how it's going to happen. I hate to tell you that. It hurts me because I believe in America. I believe in the state of Kansas. And I once believed in my local units of government. The city has turned a corner. I don't always agree with what the school district says, but they listened when the public came and complained about how they were handling interims. And they changed course. The college is listening to people when they may have shut that pool down already, but when the people came out and said, we need that pool until we can figure out something else, they said, all right, we'll keep this thing going until we can figure out another plan. They listened. There's only one institution that I've gone and I've watched and I've said, they're not taking any public suggestions. They just take public input as something to combat. And I think they're even trying to gather information on, well, what areas would you cut so that they can say, now let's form a defense against this cut, that cut. That's not representative government. That's not what I grew up believing. There's only one other time in life I've had a feeling like this. Well, there's been a few, but one for sure that I remember. I was a 7th grader, and I still believed in fairness and justice and the American way. And I was playing a football game, and I was about to make a tackle. We were playing Perryton, and a guy face masked me and pulled me away from making the tackle. And I stopped, and an official was coming, and I looked right at him, and I said, face mask. And he said, didn't see it, and the kid scored a touchdown. And that's the first time in my life that the people that I trusted that was looking out for right and wrong, for justice, to make sure things were done fair, that they were wrong. And I was like, no, he face masked me. And they didn't call it. And then my coach reamed me out for not finishing the play. And I was like, but I got face masked. And some lessons you find out in life is the people that you trust to get it right don't get it right. And in this case, you're going to pay for it. So in the end, you know who didn't get it right? I didn't get it right. For one, I helped Commissioner Fuller before she was commissioner, when she was a pastor at our church. I helped her. I drove her around and said, this is what your district would be. These are the people that you would represent. These are the homes. This is where you want to go talk to these people. This is where you're at. Here's some issues you might want to be aware of. Here's some things you might want to plan on some questions you might get at the forum. Here's some things. And I visited with her and all that. I had no idea at that time. I learned it later, and I learned it, this is just part 2 of that. Of that, you know, sometimes people aren't who you think they are. And I've been friends with Tammy for a long, long time. Coached her son in Kids Inc. That's how we met. And maintained a friendship over the years. She was the chairman of the Seward County Republican Party until earlier this year. And I did not see that coming. And I've talked with Tammy, and I've tried to help Tammy. And here's the worst thing. I voted for Tammy because that's my district. I voted for her.
Well, you're not the only one.
And because of her promise. And you thought you could trust somebody. And then to find out you can't. That, I mean, that's like looking at that official when it happened right in front of them. And they say no. And they say, but you are responsible to do that. You're responsible to watch over that and make sure that it's done the right way, to make sure it's fair, that you've got the whistle. And that's how we see these people and the hurt that they've done to this. And this crying episode the other night and whining of that people have been called names or whatever, or that kind of thing. The people didn't put them in that position. This commission did.
That's a fact.
The people are begging for relief and saying, how could you be a part of this? How can you support this, to do this to the people? And they're part of the people too. I think I did the math. If there's 280 employees, whatever their book showed, that's about 1% of the population. So the other 99% support that 1%, pay their salaries, pay their benefits, want them to live a decent life, and provide the service back to the community. No one's saying that they aren't valued in our community. But the people who are paying that, they're not living that same quality of life. They're not getting 23 days off when they in their second year of employment. And again, I haven't seen anyone post it. If you work a job or are familiar with any company in this area, that when you start your second year, you're getting 7.12 hours per payroll. You get 23 days off a year, 23 days of PTO a year. Plus the 12 days everybody gets, including Indigenous Peoples Day, according to their sheet here, not Columbus Day. You tell me. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Gosh.
Tell me how many days off you get. Tell me how many vacation days, sick days, whatever. Could you imagine the school district? If you've been a teacher for 15 years and you get 50 days off, that's 10 weeks. You can skip one whole 9 weeks and still get paid. Could you imagine what the taxpayers would say about that?
Yeah. Well, what about the students? What would they say? You go to the classroom and nobody's there. Oh, they're off for 10 weeks.
Then you have to pay for a sub. So not only are you paying that teacher, now you have to pay for a sub for that time period.
If you can find one.
So if you're giving all this time off, then that's also time away from performing whatever that job is.
And you're paying that sub.
So someone else has to be hired.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to tell you guys. I mean, I know maybe some of you feel like we're beating a dead horse, and some of you want to hear it from the horse's mouth. We're trying to just let you know what we're up against, what you are up against. It's not us. We're you. You're the ones coming down. You're the ones calling. You're the ones asking, say, but don't put my name on it because I don't want to be retaliated against. Isn't that crazy? That you're afraid that your own government will retaliate against you if you speak out against them.
I had one of those yesterday. Said, don't say who said this.
And isn't it a shame that you have
Yeah.
to live in fear of retaliation because you are on the side of the people?
Yep.
And that's where we're at. Well, there was some big news yesterday that is worth talking about. Maybe we're going to see peace, at least for now, in the Middle East. And we're going to talk about that right after this.
Our loved ones leave an impression on us, and it's important to make sure their lasting impression honors the life they led. Since 1956, the Jones family has been providing lasting legacies to the lives of our loved ones, and that torch has now been passed to the Creekmore family. The commitment to compassion continues by offering the largest inventory in stock in the region with in-house custom craftsmanship that makes sure each piece is as unique as the life it represents. With a combined 82 years of experience and professional designers they are ready to serve you from 9:30 to 5 Monday through Friday and 9:30 to noon on Saturday. Yes, our loved ones may have passed, but the memorial left behind stands as a testament to our never-ending love. The staff at Jones Monument understands that, and that's why providing monuments is more than a sideline at Jones Monument. That's all they do. Visit Jones Monument when you're ready to make an impression beyond a lifetime.
Fall off the bone ribs, dripping with our signature barbecue sauce. Tender pulled pork and brisket smoked to perfection. All served with family recipe home-style sides. It's all waiting for you at the Brick House Barbecue and Brew. Open 7 days a week, your barbecue appetite can be satisfied anytime for lunch or dinner. Brick House serves full dinners, combos, sandwiches, and take-home packs. Enjoy a variety of brews on tap or a mixed drink, shaken, not stirred. Give your taste buds a treat at Brick House Barbecue and Brew, 24 East 2nd Street in Liberal. Like us on Facebook and see our full menu at brickhouselk.com.
Big news yesterday. I think Trump was in a meeting discussing the Antifa criminal activity that's happening in this country when he was given word that Hamas has agreed to the conditions of a ceasefire, and it includes returning all the hostages. I think they're all going to be home by Monday. And Israel will withdraw back to a certain part of the Gaza Strip. And then I think then there's other things that'll come up, and that area will have to be a terrorist-free zone. And other nations, Qatar, Egypt, I believe Syria even, had a hand in getting it to here so that they can hold the Arab side of this equation to account. But what do you think about that announcement?
Well, it was very welcomed, I would say that, and I heard David Brody this morning on RAV, and he said that there were 20 points, and this was the first 5 that they had signed off and agreed to, and probably most important was the ceasefire and the hostage release. I think there's like 20 they think that are still alive out of that. I don't remember how many there were, but anyway, at least those folks, hopefully by Monday, we'll see the release of those hostages and some of all of the ones that didn't survive. So that's a good step in the right direction. This is all per the insistence and well, just the insistence of Trump and his administration that we're going to solve this. We're not going to have any more war, and so I think it was welcomed, at least a step in the right direction. So we'll see. But at least we're going to get that accomplished.
We hope so. And if Trump can bring, is being credited with bringing an end to that, and I know Trump loves a feather in the hat. And
Sure.
I don't care about all of that. I do care
Yep.
about. I remember that Saturday morning when the news came on and you saw these motorcycles pouring in and what they did to people.
Oh yeah.
It was
Yeah, it was just mass destruction.
put a human baby in a microwave. People in their they have these safe bunkers. Think about that in your house. We think about tornadoes and stuff of maybe going
Yeah.
down in the basement. These people have bomb-resistant shelters inside their
house.
homes, and to protect themselves from when the terrorists come pouring in, and which happened that day. I can't imagine the fear of that. Well, I'm starting to, from my own local government. But
Yeah.
when you think that you're living a peaceful life, some of them were at a concert, and these people
Yeah.
pull up and start shooting people and then taking hostages. And I'll never forget the vision of that one woman's body broken, bent and different, and being paraded down the streets of Gaza City to cheers. It's just sickening what one human being thinks of another one. And to see that happen, there's still going to be resentment towards that. But
Yeah.
at some point, this had to be drawn to a close. And so it looks like we're finally at that point.
Now then we've kind of moved Gaza to Portland and Chicago and a few other places like that.
Well, I can't
With-
say that
with
Seward
some
County is
resistance.
completely
Yeah,
free.
well, yeah,
When,
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
It's almost like an act of terrorism. It's economic terrorism.
Yeah.
It's happening to the people here. But
Yep.
no, to say that what's going on with that situation over there, glad that they're able to
At
bring
least they
that.
got together and talked it out.
Yeah, yeah. And Larry White says he'll still never get the Nobel Peace Prize. I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure. I mean, look what he's doing there. Let's see what happens in Ukraine, and that's the last big one. To focus on that, and what's it going to take to bring Russia to the table and bring this thing to a close. Trump's tried everything he can, and now maybe it's time when you start talking tough. It's one thing to say we speak softly but carry a big stick. Eventually, if you've got that big stick, sometimes you got to swing it.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So we'll see, and maybe even locally, maybe we need to have a rally against the tax, and just bring people together to say, look, you're not alone. We understand. And we're asking those people to revisit this. Maybe they just think there's a handful of you. They don't think that you really represent, that you really support what they did. We might have to have a rally of our own.
Well, if you look at that poll, there's apparently a pretty good support.
They won't look
So,
at that.
Well, no, that's just, that's a biased poll because you're doing it.
Yeah. Yep. They won't care. They just won't care. Larry White says, I'll bet you 2 apple fritters he won't. Tell you what, I don't know when they make that announcement, Larry, but we'll follow it. And I tell you what, if he doesn't get it, next time you're in town, I'll pick up your dinner. How about that? I'll take you out. We'll find somewhere nice to eat, and I'll take care of that. Yeah, Steve Mers says a petition signing rally, and we can sign it. We can have a signed, document. It just, we can't force a vote. Isn't that sad, Steve? Isn't that sad?
that the people are so crippled by their own government that you cannot seek justice. You can't seek a reparation to a wrong,
Yeah.
and you can still head it off. You thought like I did that the people's voice can always overcome bad government. No, it can't. No, it can't. But Steve, would you come? Would you encourage others to come to the repeal the tax rally? To encourage the trio to listen to the folks? Would you come to that? Maybe we need to have one.
Well, you know, I think in addition to that, we need to remember that, you know, the reason for all of this is due to the legislature, you know, exempting, you know, industry from, you know, certain, I mean, giving them breaks on certain exemptions, you know, equipment exemptions and one thing and another. And I don't really have a problem with that, other than I think that we need to have a better definition, a better description. And I know Commissioner Helm suggested that, you know, but I think it is. I think it's necessary that the state, you know, have a better description of what's exempt, because right now it's a he said, she said kind of thing, you know, as you know, and then you have to get appraisers, you know, from probably out of state. Your local appraiser is not capable in a lot of instances of determining, you know, what should stay and what could go. I mean, that's the whole thing now. Well, I can load that up and take that with me if I decide to leave. So that's, you know, that's not part of the structure. But it's necessary to keep the plant operation going, you know. And so I think we need to review some of that stuff about, you know, whether it's, you know, a necessary piece of equipment or whether it's attached or something. I don't know, but I keep going back to that. I think a lot of this has to do with the, you know, with the decision of the legislature many years ago. And they just, you know, said, well, this is kind of the way it is, and now then it's up to you to hire lawyers. And I remember on DCP, when we worked on that, we had to go to Dallas, I believe, to find an appraisal firm that was familiar enough with, you know, that kind of an operation to go in and appraise it. Of course, DCP had their appraiser look, and there was a huge difference in what they said and the county appraiser had to say, the one that we hired. And so, you know, I think the legislature is not clear off the hook, in my opinion. I think they need to, you know, review that, and I don't know exactly. I've got some ideas. I've been kind of trying to put that together, because I know one of the gubernatorial candidates the other evening, went up to the park, asked me if I would provide them with some kind of information as I seen it, you know. And so I've started working on that, and then as I think of different things, you know, I put that down, and I'm going to put that into a letter and forward that to them in an email. But you know, so, but that's where this all started. It's you know, my appraiser says this and your appraiser says that, and now then we got to settle somewhere in the middle. In the meantime, you know, all these other people get involved, and then you get hung out to dry with a 13+ mil increase. And you know, that's happening in Surrey County right now, but it could happen any other county in the state as far as that goes that's got industry. You know, and so, you know, like I always said, you know, and I still believe that, is it worth, you know, the effort to recruit big business into a community? And, you know, if it is, you know, what's the advantage? Because when you run onto 13 mil increase to offset the, you know, the loss in taxes, then, you know, the people are the ones, the property owners are the ones that really suffer. Where's their break? Where's homeowners and property owners? Where's their exemption? You know, well, they don't have one. You know, so I don't know, but I still think that the legislature needs to go back and you know, refine this a little bit and kind of offer some assistance. You know, maybe get a list of approved appraisers. You know, I don't know exactly. You know, I'm still kind of thinking about that. But if you've got any ideas, I would, you know, be more than glad to hear from you, because I am going to send that letter one of these days as soon as I kind of get it together. But if you got any ideas on how that might work, how the state could improve industry exemptions, you know, be more than glad to, you know, consider that. But anyway, but that's the reason this all started, was because of the original exemption for a concrete company in Coffeyville, I believe.
One thing I'd like to say, going along with that, is I believe that's been used as a ruse locally, because what they're proposing wasn't to just take care of that lawsuit. It was for massive increases to other things within the county budget.
Yeah.
And so if they had just earmarked that, or let me say this, let's say it like this. If they would have said, we're just going to ignore that case until we get a ruling. Then when they got a ruling in court, then they could have just handled it then, because there are tools to do that. It's called a zero fund warrant in Kansas.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, the state, we just got hit with this. It's going to cost us $1, $2, $3 million. We don't have the funds for that. We need to do a zero funds warrant. And the state says, okay, here's the $3 million. You pay that. Now the next year and for the next 4 years after this, pay us back.
Yep.
Problem solved.
Yep.
But they manufactured this crisis to convince you needed to pay more money to the county. They didn't need the 29 mills that they put on that letter, or 25. It's really 29 if you look at revenue neutral rate, because the 43 to keep them the same amount of money would have actually went down to 40 mills. They're not telling you that, but look at your statement. It'll tell you. They would have went down to 40 mills to get the same amount of money. So you have to add those to the 25 mil increase they were talking about, because they were talking about going from 43 up to, I think, 59. But it should have been 40 to 69. It should have been 40 to 69, because that was revenue neutral rate. So they manufactured this to get you lost in that, so they can sneak through additional spending at the county level. Because they could have ignored it. They could have said, look, we really aren't supposed to tax for money according to 6110 and other statutes on an unknown. We're not supposed to tax thinking we might have this. Now they're saying we're trying to prepare. It was a ruse and you fell for it. They did a good job. They sold it. They said it was all about this one taxpayer. And so they did lose you in where the money's really going on the rest of the budget. They didn't lose me. They didn't lose David Box. They didn't lose Carolyn Huddleston. And I'm not saying that you fell for it. You trusted. We all did. But some of us said, this doesn't look right. It doesn't pass a smell test. And now 13 mills instead of the 25? And you look and say, they never had any intention of that going towards that. It was for other things in the budget.
Sure.
You got us. You got Tammy. You got Tammy to vote for the highest tax increase in the history of Seward County. She believed it. She bid it. She took it hook, line, and sinker. You got Scott Carr to believe it, to say that
Well, our reserves, we're depleting our reserves. Scott, the only way you deplete your reserves is to overspend the budget. Because if you say this is how much we're budgeting this department, and this is what we're bringing in to fund that department, you can do that. If you're depleting your reserves, it's because you're spending more than you budgeted. And to say, stop doing that. Think about it in your home. If you've got a savings account, and you're budgeting your home budget, and you're saying, what's happening to our savings account? Well, you're not sticking to your budget.
Yeah. Well, you know, there are instances where things happen. You know, I mean, you know, plumbing goes bad, electric goes bad, you know, something happens that you have to spend, you know, and that's the reason you have a reserve or a savings account or whatever, but not continually. You know, you fix it and you're done. And, you know, that's not quite the way this works.
So Steve is asking, if the courts decide to send the matter back to the legislature, this situation could drag on for a few more years. Where will we be then? I don't think that it's going to go to the legislature, Steve. I think it's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. And when they make their ruling, that's it. But you're right. What happens if it goes on a few more years? The law allows a county to establish a restricted fund. Where they're putting it right now, if they wanted to, they could pull that money and spend it anywhere because it's not restricted. It's in the general fund, just under a category for, what's that category called? It's something for claims.
Oh, yeah, reserve for claims.
Reserve for claims.
Yeah.
But it's not restricted.
No, that includes any kind of a claim. You know, if you know, whatever it could be.
You go and slip on the ice.
Yeah, you know, if somebody, you know, has an insurance claim and the insurance don't quite cover it all, you know, I mean, well, we used that reserve for claims, I think, in when we had to do the serious big time $300,000+ electrical work at the ag building. You know, we hadn't budgeted for that. We had no idea that, you know, it was going to be forced upon us, you know, to clean it up, and that's what it amounted to, you know, and had to bring it all up to code and one thing and another. But, you know, that was an additional expense that, you know, so you go to, you know, a fund, and you have to have those kind of things for unexpected.
So to answer you, Steve, it's fine to have that fund that Jim's talking about, but it's got to be restricted. In other words, that's it.
That money can't be that fund and that levy for that is for judgments and settlements. That's a lot different than being, you know, reserved for claims.
Yeah, and that money then can only be used for that, Steve.
Yeah.
And so why are they reluctant to do that? I'll tell you why. Because they want to have their hands to get to that money to use it for something else. And you know, we'll see what the final number comes back to. We don't know. You don't know what that would be. I don't know what that would be. So you're going to have to decide, do you support them doing it the legal way, which is a restricted fund? I'm not opposed to them budgeting and putting some money in a restricted fund.
Yeah.
2 mills, Steve, would be $500,000. You know, 4 mills would be $1 million. How much are you willing to put away on that per year to build that fund up? You can put whatever you feel comfortable. But they did 13 mills and only added $500,000 to what they had already been putting away with the 43 mills before. So that's only 2 mills that they're contributing to that. That means 11 mills are going to other things in the budget, not that court case. So all 4 of them doing it the right way, they just didn't do it the right way. And they didn't put it in a restricted fund. It's in part of the regular, under the general fund. It's categorized, but it's still under the general fund. Patricia is saying bonuses to the extent they are given are ridiculous. And you know what, Patricia? You never would have known that if Carolyn Huddleston didn't do the work to get it out, and we give her a platform to make sure she can get it out to you and inform you on it. You know, and where was management? Where were the elected officials overseeing this stuff? It took a citizen going through the numbers to bring that to you. And it's on the payroll reports. And the citizen went and found out what grants are these, what are the rules of the grant. And she highlighted that the rules of the grant, there's very specific rules and they're not being followed. But do you blame the people receiving them? No. They're employees. Who oversees the staff?
The director.
Who oversees the director?
Well, the commissioner should.
Exactly. So now that you know, what are you going to do with the information? What are they doing now that they know? And I guarantee you, you've said to them, we didn't have a clue. And why didn't they have a clue? Because they're not looking at those reports. They're not asking for the right information. But a citizen did. And a citizen got those numbers.
And it didn't take very long.
No.
I mean, within a matter of 2 or 3 days, it started rolling in, and it's been rolling in ever since.
And so Steve says, under Capers, the last 3 years of employment are used to figure the retirement benefit. With this big meal increase, how many raises could be doled out to increase the retirement benefit? Well, you can look at the salaries, Steve, of the county and compare those positions to a like position in the private sector and tell me who's making out better than the other and which one's paying for which. Now, we need everybody. We need the people processing our tags. We need the people handling our deeds and all of that. All of those positions are needed, and they're good people. There is not a nefarious person, but anyone work anywhere is going to try to get the best deal they can.
Sure.
And you have to balance that with what we can afford. And if you are listening to the same people I am, Steve, you know that there are a lot of people in this public says, I can't afford what they're doing. I can't afford it.
Well, there's a lot of them that are on fixed income. I mean, they got Social Security check coming, and, that's about it. I know some of those folks. And that's their entire income for the month. And you take, and add on, $150 to $300 onto that, and there's no place to come up with it. So what do you do? Well, maybe you decide I just can't pay my taxes, and you go on the delinquent list, and in 3 years or thereabouts, you qualify for a tax sale. So, but I don't know. It's caused a lot of harm, and I don't think we've even seen the beginning of it yet.
And I'll say this, it's unified the public more than anything. The one thing that they all agree on is that this was just more than they could bear.
Except 8.
Except 8. Yeah. So someone benefits from a tax increase, and they let us know that. I am checking. I have double checked here. I got to set a date, so I've got to make a request to reserve. I'm thinking of the Light Park Pavilion and
Phyllis Wendell Pavilion.
the Phyllis Wendell Pavilion.
There you go.
And to rally to repeal the tax. I got to come onto the city website, and there's a form I got to fill out and see if the facility is available, and if so, whatever the fees are. But we'll see if we can get that taken care of and have a rally in the park to repeal the tax and let the public show up and have a platform. And if nothing else, I'll see if I can get Carolyn there, because she got cut off at the commission meeting. Maybe she can share her data with the public that way.
She could do a whole show all by herself.
And let her inform the public on the data and the research that she's done. and others that may want to share how this tax is affecting them, and what this is going to do to the public, and maybe give them a platform. I'll work on that, and I'll check on the date and see if it's available. It'll have to be pretty quick. I don't think we can make it happen this Saturday. I would love to, but maybe next Saturday. You think next Saturday?
Well, see what's going on.
Yeah, hopefully good weather day too. Yeah. But I'll work on it. We're going to work on that and see if we can make that happen. But good points, all of you. I mean, we're working for you, the people, and we're. And let me tell you something. It is my hope and prayer that those three will be in maybe a state of prayer themselves, and maybe in a state of, we have to look at 22,000 people, not 288 employees. We have to compare and balance the needs of all of these people. And I would hope that they would say, guys, we're going to have to revisit some of this. We're going to have to come back to the table and be willing to revisit this. Is there not at least one of those three willing to say, let's have a special meeting? Let's just go back and look and see if there's anything we can do.
Well, if you're out of compliance, that would be one thing you could do, and to me, you would want to do ASAP. I mean, you need to establish a special fund and put that money in that special fund that is reserved for claims and judgments, settlements. If nothing else, for me, that would be top priority. But to continue just to blow that off, that's not at all good management, in my opinion. That's an intention to violate the law, and it is a clear violation. I mean, that would be one step in the right direction, and then, maybe you can revisit some of the other stuff. But that'd be probably the top priority for me, because right now they're out of compliance, and you're knowingly out of compliance with the law. So.
Yeah. No question. Well, we'll keep working on it. A relook is what Todd wanted. Exactly, Patricia. Exactly.
Yeah.
Todd said, let's just get back together and revisit this.
Yeah.
And they're like, we've already voted on it. Why are you're just grandstanding? No, he's listening.
No.
Listening to the people.
Well, maybe he and Commissioner Helm are the only two that realize they've violated the law, and that could be remedied.
You would hope. You would. I was under the false impression that the people were in control.
Well, I guess I was too. I didn't dream that you couldn't petition any of that. I thought maybe, when all this first started, that you could go to the Attorney General or, something where the people would have a voice. But apparently, after all of this, come and find out we don't have a voice. If they say pay the ticket, then you pay the ticket. And there's no recourse. And I think that's something that, needs another thing that perhaps the state legislature needs to review is give the people a voice. Make some rules and regulations on, how to object to this and who to object to and those kind of things. We are certainly the guinea pig on this. And, as I understand it, there's a lot of counties that are watching what's going on here in Seward County. Could be 104, because this is a huge thing. And any one of those are, basically subject to the same thing. So it's not just a county issue, it's a statewide issue of every county.
If we were to host a rally on a Saturday, what time of day do you think would be best?
I don't know. Probably, I don't know. I don't know.
Any
11
suggestions?
11 o'clock.
Any
1
suggestions
o'clock,
out
2
there?
o'clock.
You know,
It's kind of cooled down, so a guy could do it at 1 or 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock?
I don't know.
How about 1 o'clock? I'll put that. And then what, for an hour or
Yeah, probably an hour, hour and a half.
1 to 2:30? 1 to 2:30. I got to fill out this form.
It's happening live, folks. Anyway, we're taking care of business here. Yeah, I would think probably an hour and a half would be a plenty.
Yeah.
You know, and of course Carolyn could fill up that much, you know, just for starters. But I guess if you know, the crowd's willing and she's willing, you can hang around and she'll tell you everything that she's found out, which might take a week. But anyway,
I'm filling this out.
yeah, I don't know what kind of turnout it'll be, but I think, you know, the education process on this is, you know, I think we've all learned something that we never dreamed of. And when it comes down that the citizens don't have a recourse, you know, to me, that's pretty sad, because you would think that you could register a complaint with somebody, you know, and they could at least put a stay on it or something, you know, and for, you know, reconsideration or whatever it might be, or, you know, some, I don't know. But when you come up with all zeros, you know, then that's when you realize that there needs to be something done with this.
Yep.
So we shall see. We're not going to give up. We're going to keep harping, and we'll see what comes of it. But we're going to stay involved.
Yep. And so I'll
Appreciate all you folks watching. I mean, the numbers on this thing have grown substantially over the last couple of 3 weeks. My goodness. I've been watching those numbers, and they've doubled in the number of viewers that we've got.
Yeah. So Steve says he's committed to working Gatlin auction that day. You know, and there's always going to be some kind of conflict, and I don't know the best time to do it. I'll have to get with the city. I got to upload a map and some other things, so I got to get some things so I can do that. So let me work on that and see what we can get so that we can have a rally for the public to be able to
We'll send you pictures, Steve.
question there. Yeah.
Maybe we'll film it.
Yeah.
Record it.
Stream it.
Yeah, stream it.
Yeah. But I don't want to do it where people won't come. I mean,
Yeah.
we need people. If we're going to do
Yeah.
it, we need people
Yeah,
to
you
be
need
there.
the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So I may have to be there for this one. We'll see. Well, anything else you want to get in before we go to the weather?
Oh, I think that's about it.
And so let me get you the Squeaky Clean Car Wash weather report. Don't forget, tomorrow night the Redskins will be traveling to Great Bend for a battle of two 5-0 teams.
How about that?
And big game in the state of Kansas. And, you know, Liberal's kind of the upstart. Great Bend's a favorite. But you know what? We've probably been the underdog for the past couple of weeks anyway.
Yep.
And have come away with wins. So
Yep. Been pretty good so far.
good luck to the Redskins tomorrow night. Your Squeaky Clean Car Wash says today is going to be sunny with a high near 85.
South-southwest wind 14 to 17 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 59. South-southwest wind 10 to 13 miles per hour. Looking ahead to the rest of your week, Friday, a high of 86. Saturday, 85. Sunday, 88. Columbus Day here at the Leader in
Columbus
Time.
Day, how about that? Not Indigenous People Day.
70. Tuesday, chance of rain 76, and Wednesday 80. That's your weather outlook, and that's the news and views you can use on the high plains. Thursday, October 9th, 2025. We'll be back with you to send you into your weekend tomorrow and hopefully have some information on if we are going to be able to have an area for a rally. Until then, this is the Leader in Times with Jim Rice saying when you live in Liberal
Or Leavenworth, Kansas.
there's no place like home. Have a great day, everybody.